What stands out to me is that about 2 or 3 weeks ago, Donald Trump suggested that he might make his acceptance speech at the White House, and there was an uproar in Washington. Republican Senate leaders said, that can't happen. We can't have that. That barrier was completely blown away tonight, for good or for ill. We had the president pardoning somebody. It was a deeply moving ceremony, and John Ponder certainly deserves the pardon, but he pardoned him right in the middle of the Republican National Convention. We had a naturalization speech right in the middle of a Republican convention. Melania Trump delivered a very impressive speech from the Rose Garden, the White House. And I think perhaps most controversial of all, we had the Secretary of State making an openly political speech from a diplomatic hotspot in Jerusalem. You know, we do need to point out that secretaries of state have never participated in political speeches. In fact, it's the regulation of the State Department that nobody that's in the State Department can attend a political event, let alone participate in it. The State Department said, well, he's operating in his personal capacity, but I don't know what personal capacity a Secretary of State has. People can think it's a big deal, they can think it's a little deal, but all of this has never happened before, and it's worth noting.
Even when they're being broadcast to the entire nation, still this administration can't stop itself from committing illegal acts. Here, even the Fox News host points out the slew of illegal acts committed by Trump and his administration officials in one night of the Republican National Convention. And that includes Trump using a naturalization ceremony as a prop.
Candidates for naturalization, please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I hereby declare an oath.
Trump using a pardon as a prop.
I'd like to invite John's wife, Jamie, to join us as I grant John, I'm not sure you know this, a full pardon.
The Secretary of State speaking at a political convention from Jerusalem.
Hi, I'm Mike Pompeo. I'm speaking to you from beautiful Jerusalem, looking out over the old city. I have a big job as Susan's husband and Nick's dad. Susan and Nick are more safe, and their freedom's more secure, because President Trump has put his America First vision into action.
And Melania Trump giving a campaign speech from the Rose Garden.
Good evening. It seems like just yesterday that we were at our first convention, where my husband accepted the Republican nomination and then became our 43rd President of the United States.
The reason these are not allowed is because our tax dollars pay for government processes, not for campaigns who have access to these processes to exploit them for political gain. You and I didn't choose to donate to Trump, but at night 2 of the RNC, our tax dollars went to Trump anyway when he used those taxpayer-funded processes to present himself in a good light. He used our money to pardon someone because he wanted to seem sympathetic. He used our money to naturalize new citizens because he wanted to seem not racist. He used our tax dollars to fly Mike Pompeo out to Jerusalem and pander to evangelicals with a favorable backdrop and politicize the State Department in the process. He used our money to set the stage for Melania, where she would promote her husband's campaign. The point is that it is illegal for Trump to pilfer our tax dollars to help his re-election campaign. And look, I know that these aren't major infractions, especially compared to the other crimes that he's committed. But the point isn't the severity, it's the carelessness with which he commits them. It's the fact that he thinks that he's above the law. If you roll through a stop sign and a cop sees you, you'll still get a ticket. You might think that it's not a big deal, but you and I still have to follow the law. And yet Trump has just unilaterally decided that he doesn't. So the point is not necessarily that we should grind the government to a halt over these violations. The point is that he doesn't think the law, no matter how big or small, applies to him. And we've seen this phenomenon of Trump exploiting the government to help him politically play out on a dangerous scale. Trump wielded federal forces to tear gas peaceful protesters so that he could get a photo op with a Bible, denying Americans of their First Amendment right of assembly. He threatened to withhold disaster relief from California while the state is being ravaged by wildfires because there's no electoral upside for him. Trump has sent troops to the southern border just ahead of the midterm elections because he wanted to fearmonger about migrant caravans. He got the FDA to approve an authorization for hydroxychloroquine because he needed a miracle cure for coronavirus before dangerous cardiac issues forced the agency to revoke that same authorization. And most recently, he's opted to sabotage the Postal Service so that mail-in ballots aren't able to be counted. This president has predicated his entire re-election on exploiting taxpayer-funded government processes to help himself and his own re-election in dangerous ways. So whether we're talking about Hatch Act violations or the wholesale destruction of government institutions, this administration's sole objective is tightening their grip on power, and they don't care what they have to destroy to get there. While you're here, please subscribe to my podcast, No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen, where I take a deeper dive into the week's biggest stories and interview major players in the world of politics, like Kamala Harris, Adam Schiff, Katie Porter, Nancy Pelosi, Cory Booker, Eric Swalwell, and many more. Again, that's No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen, available anywhere you listen to podcasts.